Before the president did what he did, China's tariffs on the United States were a little over 20% on average. Now they're 10. Unless you're the reason that your parents drank, you see that it was a big victory, not just for President Trump, but for America. Now, I've listened all day to some of my Democratic colleagues say that we didn't get anything for it. You know, if you believe that, I'm not saying you're the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope the dumbest person in the world doesn't die.
Senator John Kennedy sticks the landing pretty much every time. He is absolutely a national treasure. And I love it that his name is Senator John F. Kennedy because it drives the Democrats crazy. It's Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant, here for a couple of days. Hello, how are you? Thanks for being here on this Wednesday. I hope you survived the craziness of the weather. It was just nuts. And apparently sweeping across the country in different waves of nuts. I know here in D.C. where the show is based, it's been wild. I want to address something that Senator Kennedy was talking about, and that is the tariffs and the reaction from Democrats to the tariffs and now the results. Because granted, it's just been over a month since the Tariff Liberation Day, since the Rose Garden event where the president held up the chart and talked about the lack of fairness in trade with our country and several other nations around the world, dozens, if you will. And now that I think we're on the precipice of a major trade deal with basically the whole world, but individually. I think it's fair to relive some of the madness of the left and how they reacted, because initially the president's trade and tariff packages were not as well accepted by Wall Street, which, you know, the Democrats will either love or hate depending on who's in office. That's a very, very obvious thing. But it was April 5th, just after the tariffs were imposed and the president had a little bit of a rough patch with the stock market. It was April 5th that Eric Swalwell joined some of his angry Democrats on a stage in D.C., and they were ranting and raving and, well, cursing, of course, because that's one of their new skills.
Our 401ks are 201ks.
Oh, look what he did. He did some fun math there. He did funny math, didn't he? Really? How many of you actually have 401ks? Can you be honest? Because I know a lot of you don't. Well, Swalwell does because you and I pay for it. Back to the clip.
Our 401ks are 201ks. And where is Donald Trump? He's golfing. So to Donald Trump, I say, get your ass off the golf course and face the people. This is what kicking the out of fascism looks like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Sure, thank you. That's the cursing. That's the new Democrats. They want to curse to get street cred. Eric Swalwell. Not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer, if you will. And as I check on the markets, because the markets, they have yet to open today, but if we look at just the stock markets for the last 30 days, I'm going to go with the Dow Jones Industrial Index. If we go with the last 30 days, well, we got down under 39,000 points on the Dow, and as of today, 42,140. That looks like a healthy rebound. That appears to be a correction if you were to do that. And if we're to do year to year, because that's what people like to say, what does a year over year look like? That's what the financial people say. We're up year over year. It's good. That's, again, we're currently at just under 43,000. We were as high as 45. But a year ago, it was, again, under 39,000. So, Mr. Swalwell, yeah, you're not a smart guy, sir. You should really just stay in your lane. and not do this kind of stuff. It's grandstanding. It's like going to the New Jersey ICE detention center and pretending to really care about the people inside. You have no idea about the rapists inside, the people from either Tren de Aragua or MS-13. You're completely clueless on that. But he's fun to make fun of, and we do keep track. We do keep records. We do go all the way back to April of this year. Meanwhile, President Trump, as I said, halfway around the world, he was speechifying yesterday in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. One of the most amazing things that I witnessed yesterday and talked about it yesterday afternoon as well. But one of the most amazing things I witnessed was the President of the United States in a giant ballroom with possibly 5,000 people gathered. Many from the region, of course. You had many of the Emirates represented there. You had Bahrainians there. You had people from Oman. And, of course, his host, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, welcoming the president, introducing the president, and making me feel really comfortable. But what was stunning and amazing to me was the introduction of President Donald John Trump. They played the song, the Lee Greenwood song, God Bless the USA. It was a recording, and it sounded good. Thank God they didn't use the Saudi marching band. I know Chris talked about it yesterday. We were laughing about it, texting back and forth about it. To me, the Saudi marching band playing our anthem sounded like the Mayberry marching band from, yes, the old television series. But the president was allowed to walk out after his introduction by MBS to Lee Greenwood's song, and everyone in the room stood. The entire room stood, and they stood for the whole song. The entire song. The respect that is now conferred upon the President of the United States by this group cannot be denied. And it's killing the left, and I am here for it. I'm here for every second of it. But then at the very end of it was a remarkable moment. Even more amazing than the standing of the delegation that was there, the thousands who stood before President Trump spoke. At the very end of his address, he thanked the Crown Prince. He thanked all the people who were in attendance. And then they started playing YMCA and the Village People. It just blows my mind. If you understand the region, if you understand the culture of the area, if you even suggested playing the Village People in public in Saudi Arabia, you probably would still be behind bars today if this were 10 years ago. Donald Trump standing on stage, he didn't do the dance. I wish he would have done the dance. He did not do the dance. Had he done that, I believe it would have been just brought the house down. And the Crown Prince did not either. He came up and shook his hand. They were very enthusiastic. Then they went on a tour of Mohammed bin Salman's home area. And he was driven around on a golf cart by the future king of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Now, a lot of people on the left are saying, how dare we do any kind of business with these people? We know the story of Khashoggi. We know that whole story. Let's not try and claim this guy was an American either. Yes, it was a horrible situation. But do you not do business with this critical partner in a region that is also the sworn enemy of the people who wake up every morning and say, death to America? Yeah, that's what the Iranians do. They get up every morning before they check the weather, before they turn on Iranian AccuWeather, they say death to America and death to Israel. All the infidels must die. The Saudis are friends in the region, are mortal enemies with the Iranians. It's the Sunni Shia thing. And those two will never get along. So we should be friends with the ones who don't wake up in the morning and say, death to America. And we are. Culturally, they have a lot of differences. Yes, women can drive now. No, they don't have the same rights as women in America do. But we're making progress. And I think what Donald Trump is doing is creating a positive force. A guy who's talking about doing good things in the region and creating opportunity based on peace and goodwill versus muscle, might, and military power and military action. The other big news that happened during that conference yesterday was the moment that triggered the biggest round of applause of the entire day. The largest round of applause that happened during President Trump's address came when he made a surprise announcement. At least it was an announcement that appeared to take everybody in the room by surprise. Not only took them by surprise, but it also it brought the room to its feet. It brought the entire room to its feet when the president announced that he was going to be lifting the sanctions, completely removing the sanctions on Syria. And Syria, you're probably saying, wait a minute, Syria, not our friends, right? We're not friends with them. Well, we were big enemies with them when Bashar al-Assad was there, and that guy was a terrorist tied to the Iranians and tied to Hezbollah. And he was also a guy who was selling what they call Captagon. If you know what Captagon is, you probably understand. Captagon was the jihad drug that powered all of the attack on Israel. Captagon was a $3 billion a year export that was just absolutely enriching only Bashar al-Assad. And so they got him out of the area. And that was a good thing. That was a critical thing. But yesterday, when President Trump announced he was going to drop all the sanctions against Syria, there was a 34-second standing ovation. That was a gigantic roar. And the president was pretty clear on it, too. He did that based on a request from his host, based upon a request from MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. And after the 34-second applause break ended, President Trump said,
"Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince. The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have, based on the people and the spirit and everything else that I'm hearing about. So I say good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia. Okay? They're going to show us something special. Very good people.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Look, for years we've been fighting with bombs and attacks to try and shut down the terrorism that has been just infesting that part of the world. And Assad's gone, and you got a new guy in there. And yes, he has some history, questionable history. A lot of people are raising questions about this guy's history with ISIS. President Trump has met with the new leader of Syria. And I guarantee you the sanctions that he is going to order taken off can easily be returned in a heartbeat if anything happens. But if Iran doesn't have its friend anymore, President Trump is isolating them. This is great diplomacy on display. We'll get into all this and then some more clips from today, because this morning's speech, which happened about 4 o'clock, I watched the whole thing. I'll share it with you. There were some magic moments there as well. If you want to join the conversation, you can. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. It's the Chris Plant Show with Mike Opelka.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris. Happy to be here, thrilled to be here, honored to be here. Trying to get to everything, and I will catch us up on some of the other crazy stories happening. I opened up with a little bit of a recap from President Trump yesterday, and according to one of you, I may have gotten something wrong, which happens. It happens. I think it's Moni in Columbia, Maryland, joining us. Is it correctly pronounced Moni, your name?
Moni.
Moni. Hello, Moni. Explain
Hi.
to me. Help me out here.
Yes, I am an immigrant from Iran. I was educated in the United States. I had a high position in Iranian government. Iran is 5,000 years old. Iran has written the first proclamation of human rights in the year of 539 BCE. Iranians are very civilized. Iranians are decent people. There are 2 million of us here, but you never hear any Iranian doing anything but being professors of universities and businessmen and people. And I'm an author and writer and historian. This regime was established in Iran by President Carter, democratic policy, because the British wanted free oil from Iran, and the Shah of Iran was refusing. He said, you pay as much as you pay to anybody else for our oil. Therefore, they took him out of Iran and established Khomeini, that I have his letters to President Carter saying, if you put me in charge in Iran, you can get anything you want. This is what has happened in Iran. And my nation and my name and my civilization, everything. Do you know that Iran has done how much of world civilization has come from Iran and Iranians? Nobody knows.
I would like to tell you I absolutely understand and know the same history you've talked about. I have a good friend who was the lead doctor at the National Clinic in Tehran before the revolution, and she escaped here to America. I was referring to, I should have been clear. Thank you, Moni. I should have been clear. It is truly the leaders who are the problem and the leaders who are causing it. There are many great people in Iran. And I think President Trump made that clear yesterday as well by saying it's the people who deserve a chance, but they are being oppressed. And they are the ones who hopefully will get a chance to bring the nation of Iran back to the glory. It looked like New York, Madison Avenue back in the 70s. It looked like a very modern city. And so, yes, it is the theocracy that has taken it down a dark place. Thank you for the very sober and beautiful history lesson, and we appreciate it.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. shared photos on Sunday of himself and grandchildren swimming in a Washington creek that is contaminated with sewage and bacteria. You know, I used to think it was crazy that he had a brain worm, but now I think it's crazy that he's only had one.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, there were many jokes available as HHS Secretary swam in Rock Creek, a body of water here in the D.C. area, not known for its purity. You wouldn't be doing beer commercials talking about just how the crystal clear waters of Rock Creek make the best beer. No, they don't. They're very contaminated. He's going to be testifying today in D.C. He will be on the Hill, as they like to say, testifying. And I wonder if anyone will ask him about that. But he had his grandkids in Rock Creek. Ooh. And should we rename it Poop Creek? I mean, come on. Fecal contamination. Be a little smarter. Please, Mr. Secretary. We need you around. It is Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. You're always welcome. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. I want to put a button on the discussion of what the president was saying as it relates to Iran and a deal with Iran, because the administration is doing so much work in so many places, it's almost difficult to keep up with it. You've got the direct talks that are happening between the Iranian nation and the president's team, trying to get some kind of deal to get the enrichment of uranium stopped. And we also have the president making the business trips across the Middle East that also have diplomatic implications to them. You have the possibility of a sit-down with Putin, Zelensky, and Trump, which wouldn't that be historic? And everything else the administration's doing. We saw inflation go down. We'll talk about that again, because it almost killed CNN yesterday. There was almost a choking incident with a senior citizen on the set of CNN yesterday when the inflation numbers came out. It really was serious. They almost had to do the Heimlich maneuver. We'll play that. But the president was speaking today in Riyadh once again and spoke quite frankly about the nation of Iran.
I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I don't imagine there's anybody at this table or anybody in this room that would say they can. I'm strongly urging all nations to join us in fully and totally enforcing the sanctions that I just placed on Iran, and we also placed secondary sanctions, which are in certain ways even more devastating. Iran, as you know, had no money when I left office. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. There was no attack. There was no thought of attack. There would have been no attack if I were president.
I think he's 100% correct. And President Trump also was quite clear on who the problem was as it related to all of Iran's sudden emboldened behavior. He was quite clear on who caused the problem.
Biden didn't do anything because he never did anything about anything. He had no capability, he had no ability, and it was a shame what he's done to so many countries, including our own.
He's right. He's right. He said that this morning as well. Very clear. Very clear. What did Joe Biden do, Mr. President?
Biden didn't do anything because he never did anything about anything.
Never did anything about anything. Now, I think that is an accurate assessment. That should be under Joe Biden's presidential portrait. Just saying. Let us jump to the phones real quickly because we're wrapping up this portion of the discussion about the Iranian talks, negotiations underway. Mac is calling, pardon me, from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hello, Mac.
Yes, sir. So nice to talk to you, regular listener. I just want to mention it to you. Iran was not an Islamic country. It was Zoroastrian country. Zoroastrian is a religion. It's close to like a Hindu religion.
Yeah.
And when the Muslims took over, they killed the king, and a lot of people were murdered, killed, and a lot of people, original Zoroastrian Iranian, they migrated to India, where they live very peacefully, and they have the most charitable foundation. You must have heard about Tata Motors or Jaguar.
I have.
They own that company.
Yes, they do. I'm familiar, Mac, and I understand the history, but we have to look at Iran at this point through the lens of who owns and who's operating it, because it had a history of great accomplishments in the past. Iran had a history, as I mentioned earlier, that if you walk down the streets of Tehran in 1976 and took pictures, you would see women and men in 20th century attire looking quite modern and fashionable. And then if you fast forward to the 80s, the theocracy had come in and the mullahs had taken over. And you had Ayatollah Khomeini, who had clamped down and taken away all the rights of women. And the place was sent back centuries. And so it's like somebody bought the house and decided they were going to take the exterior and paint it black and take everything good from the interior and throw it out. And we can only deal with them understanding what their intentions are. And if they keep telling us their intentions are death to America and death to Israel and death to the West, we got to try and change their minds. We can't go back to what was. And many of the good people that escaped from Iran over the decades have gone and settled in places, as you mentioned, and done incredible things. So it's not about what Iran was. We can only deal with what Iran is right now. And I respect the president trying to do it peacefully and trying to do an economic squeeze. But Iran has help. Iran has been propped up by Russia and China and, to some great extent, North Korea over the past several years. So what President Trump's trying to do is a really, I think, brilliant political isolation of them. And we will see. But thank you for that lesson. Thank you for that story on that. I think that is a very important fact people need to understand. Iran wasn't always broken. Honest to God, there were women in miniskirts in the 70s walking around the streets of Tehran. There were discos. That's all gone. It's only in the history books. Now, it could come back. We will see. I mentioned yesterday was a good day for, I believe, the economy. This is a little bit of a momentum that's happening for this administration. We had all this great stuff that was announced on Monday as it related to the economy, the trade deals, the prices of medicines that we anticipate will be going down. And then the inflation numbers rolled. And the inflation numbers were positive. They were good. And CNN almost had a heart attack, almost had trouble talking about it. They couldn't ignore it because the number was so strong, so positive. They couldn't just uncover or just cover it up. They had to actually talk about it. Wolf Blitzer having a hard time.
Wallet. U.S. inflation slowing, I should say, to its lowest rate in more than 4 years. That, according to April's Consumer Price Index report. It's an unexpected and very welcome development that's defying economists' expectations amid President Trump's ongoing trade war. Let's go live right now to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich, who's watching all of this in New York. Vanessa, walk us through this morning's report. Where do things stand?
Encouraging signs, Wolf. Inflation continuing to move in the right direction, cooling on an annual basis to 2.3%.
That's familiar to me. I voted for that. I voted for every bit of that. Every single bit of that. It's so tough for them. And if you were watching it on CNN when that happened, one of the most remarkable things about it is Wolf Blitzer's face. He had this frowny face. I believe it's RBF is what it's called. That's what the kids on the street call it. But just to review, Donald Trump, year over year, gas is down 11.8% year over year. Fuel down 9%, almost 10%. Airfare, almost 8%. Propane, kerosene, firewood down 5.6%. Energy is down. Major appliance costs are down. Fresh vegetables down. Hotels are down. Eggs are way down again. Car rentals, non-prescription drugs down fractionally, but they're going in the right direction. And it is absolutely killing them. It's absolutely destroying CNN and MSNBC to report this. So they're also having to report that J.P. Morgan, which had been telling everyone the U.S. was heading to a recession, has just ditched that projection. Now, how did that happen? How did it happen? A month ago, we were telling, Swalwell was telling everybody that your 401k is a 201k. And J.P. Morgan Chase and others were saying we're at a 60% chance of a recession in this country. And now in 30 short days, you are washing that away, J.P. Morgan Chase? Isn't that a little bit of irresponsible behavior reporting? This just in, Kraft Heinz has announced they're going to put $3 billion into production in the United States. $3 billion? Thank you, Kraft Heinz. Another announcement, and the president hasn't even had a chance to say it because he's busy overseas. $3 billion from Kraft Heinz. This is yet another manufacturer. I would like to see them say also we're not going to have the high fructose corn syrup in any of our ketchups or foods or anything. I think we're going to need the Health and Human Services Secretary to deal with that. The economic news, it is coming in fast and furious every single day, it seems. And the president announcing a new deal apparently every hour as he's on his trip. I don't think the Democrats quite know what to do with this. I think they're throwing up their hands, so they're attempting to create drama where drama does not exist. Yesterday, I know Chris played the ridiculous clip of AOC threatening anyone who dares put a finger on any of the Congress people who charge at ICE agents who are just doing their jobs. Well, Hakeem Jeffries, perhaps you've seen him karate chopping the air. Hakeem Jeffries issued his threat to DHS as well yesterday, in case you missed it.
Your statement the other day after there was this incident in Newark, you said they better not touch our members.
Correct.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do, though?
They'll find out.
What recourse? But doesn't that broach a...
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across...
That's a red line.
What's the red line, though? I know we have this...
It's a red line. It's very clear. First of all, I think that the so-called Homeland Security spokesperson is a joke. It's a joke. They know better than to go down that road, and it's been made loudly and abundantly clear to the Trump administration. We're not going to be intimidated by their tactics to try to force principled opposition from not standing up to their extremism. It hasn't happened during the entirety of this failed term. It didn't happen when Donald Trump temporarily was sitting high in the immediate aftermath of the election. Do you think it's going to happen now?
Now, I wonder if Hakeem Jeffries is experiencing some kind of computer delay, because the pauses are really kind of weird, and it feels like it's a clip that you're watching on the internet that regularly stops so it can cache and catch up. But no, that's his style of speaking. He's karate chopping the air and talking about the repetition of find out. You'll find out. You'll find out. Oh, yeah? Well, what is it? Well, that's a red line. What's a red line? It's a red line. What? They're grasping at straws because they are so devoid of anything that is catching on with the American people. The numbers are dropping to the point where they are laughable. In fact, to show you just how out of touch the Democrat Party is, yesterday in the House of Representatives, a member of the House showed you the most important thing that they have to work on today. Even though the GOP was up all night working on the tax bill, and we'll talk about that next hour because there's big news that's coming up. But when we return, I will play you perhaps the greatest example of a waste of time in the House of Representatives. I know it's only Wednesday, but this one's already in the top two. That's next. It's Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. I was laughing at this yesterday. Looking at the approval numbers of Democrats, I'm thinking, well, they're going to jump on some really important topic, right? They want to take control of the House in the upcoming midterms, and so they're going to come out with some really important issues that matter to America and Americans. And on display, Representative Yasmin Ansari unveiled the new bill that she's proposing yesterday.
As the first Iranian-American Democrat elected to Congress, I can tell you that the Persian community in the United States and across the world is outraged at the attempt to change this historically significant name. And that is why today I am proud to introduce the Persian Gulf Act to prohibit any federal funds from being used to rename the body of water and prevent government documents from referring to the Persian Gulf by anything except the name.
So there it is. There's your priorities. They're just knocking them out of the park. These Democrats, they've got a plan. It's almost as if they're trying to create a situation where they're doing really dumb things and things that are going to get them put even in a worse position when it comes to the majority. Like that guy, Sri Thanadar. Remember the guy that wanted to impeach Trump?
Impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah, Michigan's 13th district must be so proud of the choice they've made. This was yesterday as well. Detroit's own Representative Thanadar, and the guy's got some serious problems himself, we know. He's got a serious history chasing him, but he made a big sign yesterday that has the articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. And I think he's still struggling with the language because the sign reads, Congressman Thanadar files articles of impeachment to impeach Trump. You're from the Department of Redundancy Department, sir. And he put a picture of Trump on the big sign and a picture of himself. I think he has aspirations that are well beyond his capabilities. We shall see. We have so much more to get to today. Chuck Schumer said some really ridiculous things yesterday. That usually happens on any day ending in a Y. We will share them with you. There are updates on the Biden brain decline and what the media knew but didn't say. And who's George Clooney? Still, one of my favorite stories of the week, Joe Biden not being able to recognize George Clooney. Oof. Oh, yeah, they're trying to make Biden sympathetic. I'll explain around the corner. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.